Hey everyone, happy Monday. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you may be. I'm excited to be here today to for our Monday Mind Shift with my lovely co-host Suniti Biswas. Good evening, Suniti. How are you this week?
I am fantastic and I am really grateful for this opportunity to be on the podcast today talking about such an amazing topic because we've got some doozies today and people are going to love it. So I'm very excited for that.
Yes. You might be a little surprised and a little shocked because you might hear some stuff you've heard, but I guarantee you're probably going to hear some stuff you haven't. Because I've made a shift in my voice that I don't want to do the cliche stuff, like just trust the process and grind harder and, the hustle culture. Ugh.
Yeah,
So I'm being a little disruptive, both here and in my podcast. I mean, I just recorded an episode called The Rebels Playbook, and it was a lot of fun. And I did other episodes this week of quiet leaders, the authority trap, and the follower fix. All about like stepping into leadership because we're all leaders, right? We talked about it before, Sunity.
yep,
Self leadership, right? That's where it starts. You got to lead yourself. Then you might be leading a family or an organization, but I guarantee you, you're probably leading in ways you don't even know. So, this is really, I'm excited for this topic, habits of high performers. What sets them apart from the average person? So, what was your initial thoughts and reactions, Suniti, when I sent you the topic?
so I was talking to you about this when I initially saw this topic, and the first thing that came to my mind was a quote. And I'm sure, Sean, you can show the quote for everybody. And the quote says, great people become great because they know what they want and they're willing to pay the price for it. And I love this. I love this quote because all of us, we have big dreams, ambitious dreams, dreams larger than life. But are we really willing to pay the price for it? For example, let's just take a very simple example. A girl, she wants to be successful and maybe she wants to be in the Forbes 40 under 40. Take me for example. And I have a choice now. I'm at a position in life where I have to choose, should I go for marriage and go towards a family life, or should I keep on hustling? And this is what it happens every time. We get choices and we have to be willing to choose something with all our heart. Half-hearted choosing never works out. So you should choose something and you should be willing to sacrifice what you are sacrificing. Like, just take for example, did any of the famous leaders become famous or achieve their goals without giving up on something? No, they had to give up something because
Right.
there's a price for everything. So I
Yeah. Like
realized
the
that
old,
one of the main things that we actually forget is habits, consistent habits that we need to build, and we are lazy people. We are lethargic and we take comfort as the most uh, desired aspect of life, and that's where we get stuck.
yes. Well, and I would say habits are very critical, as you stated, but it's a razor's edge because if we're not auditing and paying attention, habits become routine, which then routine locks us into the comfort zone. And as you were stating, that's where we like to stay. We get in our comfort zone and we like to just kind of chill.
Yes. And the chilling
And
is bad. Not always, but if you know that chilling is all you are doing, then it's bad.
well, and it's like a quote that I saw the other day. It said, if you're happy with the way things are, why change? Like, if you're where you want to be and you're happy, okay, don't change. But if you're not, why not experiment? Right? If your life, your situation isn't exactly the way you want it at this moment, then take a step, right? Start a new habit. All right. So, one of the things that I found when I was doing of course, what I know and research for this topic, it kind of aligns with what you shared, Suniti. High performers prioritize growth over comfort. They don't avoid discomfort. They actually look at it as like, okay, I'm making progress. It's kind of like if you start an exercise program, the first few days are going to hurt.
Yeah, and that's the fact about change, right? Change is very messy when you start off. It's horrible, it's hard, it's difficult, and you hate it.
Uncomfortable.
But by the time you arrive at the result, you are like, damn, this was worth it.
Right. And whether it's physical discomfort or the discomfort of like you're launching into something you're not familiar with or you're not sure about, you know, or God forbid, something in life happens, a layoff or whatever. So regular people say, why is this happening to me? But high performers say, okay, what can I learn from this?
And little bit different. There's an African proverb. I just pulled it up on my phone because I saw it on Facebook the other day. One who bathes willingly with cold water doesn't feel the cold. It's an African proverb translated. Basically, it means that when you accept a situation for what it is, it's easier to bear. So when you accept that this is what I have to do to achieve what I want to achieve, then it's worth it to you. You will not feel the pain for it. The pain becomes a sweet pain even.
Right. Exactly. It can work both ways, right? It's the boiled frog syndrome, kind of. I mean, that's a stretch. Wait a minute. It's the idea that if you let something slide in a negative way, then you start to get comfortable with just don't worry about it, right? Like going back to the gym. You sign up for the gym. You signed up for the gym in January. I'm going to get healthy this year, and you miss a day. And then the next time you're not feeling it, it's a little easier to skip and a little easier and a little easier. But in the other way, you go today, tomorrow's a little easier. You go tomorrow, the next day is a little easier. So whether we're going up or we're going down, each day that happens, as you
It's a
said,
compounding effect.
you adapt. It doesn't hurt as much. It's not as uncomfortable anymore. So we can use it to grow, as we said. That was our topic, right? They embrace growth. Or you can use it to shrink. Which way are you
Absolutely.
using it? That's my question for the audience. So we talked about habits and routines. So the traditional message is high performers have a morning routine that fuels their success. And there is truth to that. I think of Tony Robbins. He shares it all the time of his routine that he does every morning so that he can make that day amazing. One of the keys is they don't start in reaction mode. They don't check their emails first thing in the morning. They don't get on social media first thing in the morning. They practice those intentional habits like exercise or their gratitude practice or visualization or learning. I know I start mine by going for a walk and my affirmations and gratitude, and then I come home and I do reading before I touch social media, emails, or any of it. What about you, Suniti?
So mine is a bit weird in a way because I have this habit that I choose a theme song for the day. The first thing I do, I get up, I brush, I get freshened up, and I choose my theme song, and I just sit and I listen to that song. It can be something really like hard rock kind of, or so it could be a soft pop. It sets the tone for the day. Then I sit and plan out my day. And when I say plan out my day, I don't like being rigid about my planning. I am flexible. Like I'll say that okay, these are the tasks I have to do. I'll do them whenever I feel like doing it in this day, but they will be done this day. It's not very traditional, but it has worked for me, so I keep on doing it. And then comes the part that I make tea, and my job is to take the tea and go and wake my parents up. We have tea together while chatting together, and it's a beautiful way to start the day because till now none of us have touched our phone. Then we call my sister who is in a different state for start off together starting our day.
I love it.
So
And it just,
yeah, it exactly emphasizes the things that I value. Like I value my personal space, which I got, and then I value my family, which I got just after that.
yeah. And it makes it perfectly illustrates that make it yours, right? You can take things from, the 5 a.m. club, whatever, you can bring all your things together that works for you. What are your top priorities? What are your top values that are important to you? And, what helps you start the day right? Because that sets the tone for the whole rest of the day.
Yes, and I think I'll just suggest something over here. It's very important to know your sleep chronotype. You must know that what kind of sleep is necessary for you because the standard 7 to 8 hours does not work for everybody. Some people actually thrive on 4 to 5 hours of sleep, and that's all they need.
All right.
Whereas there are people like me who, wake up at 6 and I'm fresh. Whereas I go to sleep at 11, which people get shocked about because people my age are usually up till 2. And I tell them that I'm going to sleep right now, it's 11, and they're like, how old are you? I'm like, old enough to know what my body needs. So that's the thing. Know your sleep chronotype and then figure out what time of the day your brain works the best. Now, research shows that most people's minds work best during the morning, which is why the 5 a.m. club and so on and so forth came up. But some people are there whose minds work best in the afternoons. Some people are superbly fast in the evening. So figure out yours and utilize that to come up with the best of your plans and ideas. For me, it's morning, so I take it up as like that only. After the tea session is done, I come up and do my work, and that's how high performers work. They figure out these things about themselves. They're always checking themselves, analyzing themselves, and that's what helps them know how to utilize themselves.
Yeah. And it's a perfect point to bring in my one of my disruptive points. And that is adaptability over routine, right? True high performers hack routines. They don't worship them. Think of Naval Ravikant's no routine. And as you said, chronotypes, the 5 a.m. club works great for some people, not going to work for everybody. It's about chronotype. It's about energy cycles. It's not about this arbitrary discipline of waking up every morning at 5 o'clock because some social media influencer said that's how that works. You got to be aware and follow your circadian rhythm, not somebody on online, some influencer. Because for example, I usually wake up before 6:30 every day, like naturally. So I kind of generally like Monday to Saturday, I have a 5 o'clock alarm because I want to have some time to do the things I want to do. It works for me. But last week, I was up till midnight. So, alarm, be damned, right? Nope. It's a special day. I'm on a different rhythm. My energy cycle's shifted. So, no 5 o'clock wake up. I wake up when I wake up. Well, I take that back. I had to be up by a certain time. I did. I had a commitment. So, but you know, yeah, listen to your body, pay attention to what's happening in the moment, and adapt. It's not about locking into some strict routine that you've got to follow every morning. As much, not so much like what I'm saying, like having the routine of doing the things you feel are important to be done is great. What I'm saying is it doesn't have, it could be 5 a.m., it could be 6 a.m., it could be 10 a.m., whatever works for you. It could be 5
Absolutely.
p.m. Maybe you do it at the end of the day.
Yep.
So,
It
Sunita,
doesn't
you have
matter.
a
Like
question.
just think about the fact that what works best for you, because if something works for someone, there is no guarantee that it's gonna work for you. So listen to your body, analyze, and then tune in. Tune in to what works best for you.
Right. Well,
Otherwise, you're just a copycat.
and, I think of like, I live in the Americas, but, and you're on the other side of the world, on the Asian continent. I worked with another entrepreneur who was in Pakistan. And because 90% of her clients, or almost all of her clients, were in UK, in Europe and the Americas, she did not have a traditional like morning to afternoon schedule. She worked through the night, like midnight to 5 a.m., because that's when her clients were available. So she adapted her.
Yep. Yeah, I know a couple of people like that as well, and they work with the UK or US time zones, and their schedules are completely flipped. I know people who actually work over here in their normal time zones only, but they will still get up at 11 a.m. in the morning. And at first I was like, you wake up at 11 a.m.? And they're like, yeah, because I go to sleep at 3. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. But that's what their
Right.
lifestyle supports. It's about what work they do. This person I talked about is a professional model. So all of their assignments and together by the time they come back home it's 3. So it makes
Right.
sense. There are people who actually are most active at midnight.
Exactly.
So they chose to make their profession something that is making them engage with people at that time.
Right. You gotta.
And the summary of all of this thing is just know where your brain works
Yep.
best.
Know yourself. Know, look at your situation and adapt. What works for you. So another common habit of high performers is consistent action and quick decisions. They don't wait for perfect time. In fact, like Jeff Bezos has a 70% rule. When he has 70% of the information, he makes a decision because he knows if he waits for 100, he'll freeze or there'll be a delay. right? It's make the decision, adapt, adjust, improve on the move. Don't get trapped in they don't get trapped in analysis paralysis, right?
or perfectionism.
Oh, don't get me started on that. Recovering perfectionist here.
Yeah, and it's very true, because even I have this bad habit that whenever I need to make a decision, I get into this mode of listing pros, listing cons, and then analyzing and thinking and what would be the best possible idea that I can come out of it? What will be the backup option? And it used to be a whole lengthy process. And then I came across this post. It's a Tumblr post. I hope you're familiar with Tumblr,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it said, uh, all questions you ask yourself when making a decision are irrelevant, except one. Do you want it?
That's that
That's all.
nails it because I was going to share a story. I don't remember, was I at an event, like a live event or something, and somebody had to make a decision. Option A, option B. And they're like, "Oh, I can't decide, I'm split, I'm straddling the fence. I can't decide." And they said, "Hey, do you have a coin with you?" "Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah." "Okay, what do I need
Yeah.
a coin for?" "Just take out the coin. Heads, decision A. Tails, decision B. Flip the coin and hide it. Now, don't reveal it. Which one do you hope it is? Heads or tails?" "Well, tails." "Well, just put the coin away. You made the decision. You don't even need to see the coin,
That's
right?" Like you said,
that.
go with that. If that's what you want,
Go with your heart. Go with your heart. Like what does it matter? It's not the end of
if
the world. I'll tell you a very silly story of mine. I was training for this ice cream company last week, and of course, it's an ice cream company. I was hopeful that, give me free supplies of ice cream.
at least some samples, right?
And in the end, yeah, like, come on, that's just basic necessity of life, ice cream. So after the training, they took me to their deep freezer and they just opened the freezer and they were like, take whichever one you want. And there was just so many flavors. They were like, this is our new flavor that's gonna come out in the market. It's not out yet, and etc. etc. And I was like, should I try to be smart over here and try the new one, or what should I do? And then suddenly I was like, I know my favorite. It's coconut, by the way. I know my favorite, and I just went and picked that up, a box of coconut ice cream,
Right, because you know
and it was very
you
good
know
because
your
I love
favorite,
it.
you know you'll enjoy it, right?
Yeah. Why give yourself a chance to regret? It's my motto of life. I've often told you that I don't keep regrets. If I've made a decision, it was the best possible decision I could have made at that point, and I'm happy with it. So that's the thing. Whenever you're trying to make a decision, think, do you want it? Then go for it.
Yep.
Pay the cost.
Because
Go ahead.
because the reality is that if you make a decision and you're unhappy with it, then you can change, right? You can
Exactly.
adapt. If your first instinct said coconut and you grab coconut, you know you're going to enjoy it. Go with your heart, go with your gut. You know, use your fourth and fifth brain. I was talking about this because I'm reading conversational intelligence with someone, and it was talking about initially it was talking about the three levels of the brain, right? The prefrontal cortex, the executive chair, the limbic brain, and then the the amygdala, right? The fight or flight brain, the reptile brain, right? That just says keep this being alive at all costs, right? That's all it cares about, survive.
Yeah.
And but it was bringing in that they have actually found neurons. Well, I've seen research that says there are neurons in our entire body. Every cell of the body has neurons, but there are high concentrations in the three, in our brain, in our heart, and in our gut. It's not accidental that we say follow your heart, go with your gut, because we actually process thoughts there. Like, we literally process thoughts in those areas. It's not just trite sayings.
Yeah, and that those are the three we often use to make decisions, you know. It's either we think with our brain, or we say go with your gut, or we just do what our heart tells us to do. So it makes sense in a very romantic way as well.
Right. So, a lot of times we make a decision or we hesitate on a decision because of what? Because we're afraid of the F word, right?
Failure.
Failure. So, what if I said, let's practice strategic failure? You see, high performers, true high performers, actually engineer small failures in order to avoid catastrophic ones. Perfect example is SpaceX rapid unscheduled disassemblies. Or this one will get you, failure quotas. Actually set yourself up to fail smart 3 times a week. Like, actually try to fail. And we've all heard the visualize the future, the perfect future, right? Very powerful. But what about a pre-mortem visualization?
How does that work?
You visualize it going wrong. And so that you can kind of deduce, like, okay, what was the sequence that caused it to fail, so you can make changes.
That sounds like something I actually do because I tend to imagine the worst possible scenario and how it came about so that I can prevent it.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's called pre-mortem, right? We often hear of post-mortem. That's the debrief to, okay, what went wrong, how do we do it different next time. But we can actually practice pre-mortem to, it doesn't guarantee, but I guarantee that you'll be more ready to deal with the things that come up by planning, by kind of visualizing, okay, what are the things that could go wrong with this and how do we handle
Yeah,
it? What do we do?
exactly. Because a lot of times I've been called pessimist because of this, but it's not pessimism. It's just being prepared of possible outcomes. Because I have to handle the scenario at that point, right? So why not think about what I could do? Why not go prepare with a list of actions I can take?
Right. Well, for example, if you're putting on an event, and of course you've got this visualization of, all the speakers showing up on time and the audience receiving it, and the caterer bringing the delicious food and everybody's raving about how great. Are there things that can go wrong? Yeah. Do you want to deal with them on the spot? Like, oh, oh no, the caterer canceled 5 minutes before the event. Or, you know, think about it. Like, okay, what can I do if this happens? It's not pessimism, it's realist, right? Things happen that are outside of our control. Why not be prepared?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So for the audience, I have this question. I'm going to put it on screen. What's one thing you're overprotecting that needs a controlled crash? And it comes to mind that the California fires, Part of the case of what made those so dangerous and so bad is because in California, there have not been controlled crashes or controlled burns. So in California, you have this cycle of abundant rainfall. So all the plant life grows up big and strong. And then you have a cycle of drought. So everything dries out. So you have massive amounts of fuel just waiting for a spark. When I was young, the Forest Service did controlled burns all the time because there was an abundance of fuel. They got rid of it. If there's no fuel, there's no fire. But because of the laws in California, they're not doing that anymore. And they've made other laws to prevent gas powered weed cutters out in the remote areas. Last time I checked, the trees don't have plugs to plug in your electric weed cutter or mower. So that was part of the problem, is because they abandoned controlled crash, controlled failure.
Yeah, it reminded me of a very small story from my school days, you know. Do you remember the school drills we had about fire emergencies, etc.? That they would suddenly one day the bell is ringing and you all have to go out and gather in the playground. And we used to have drills like that in school, and nobody took it very seriously. It was just like, we just get time off from this class. We don't have to do math. We don't have to do computer. It's great. But one day there was an earthquake and the bell rang, and we all gathered in the playground and we could see there was a huge crack from top to bottom of the school building. And I remember that day very specifically because I was terrified in the playground trying to search for my sister because everybody was running around like headless chickens. And the only reason everybody was safe without a single scratch was because we have been doing these drills every month.
Exactly.
One random day of the month, the drills always happen. And nobody got a scratch, nobody got bruised, nothing. The school building was damaged, which is why we got like 2 days of holiday suddenly to fix that. But the main thing was that if you do not account for possible failures, if you do not prepare to fail, if you're not ready, then you will crash and burn because you don't have anything to hold you back from actually falling upon your face.
Yep. And you don't know what to do when you fall on their face. I know one thing,
Yeah.
part of it was because of bullying. A lot of the bullies when I was a kid, they like to catch, they come up behind you and they catch your foot to trip you.
Okay.
So the first thing I learned was how to roll out of a fall so I don't get hurt. Or, playing on the schoolyard, you jump off the swing and you misfire, right? And you go tumbling. And like saw some of my
Skin knee.
I saw some of my classmates being taken away by the nurse because they broke their hand or something. All my years of school, I never went to the nurse maybe once because I fell so much. I either
That you figured out a way
learned to
to fall
prevent the
correctly.
fall or what to do when I had the fall, right? To kind of roll up so that I'm protecting important parts. It's kind of like earthquakes, right? They say tuck your head, get under a table or something solid, and protect your neck, right? It's just safety protection. It's kind of like the
Absolutely.
premorum. All right, so I love this.
And we can see this happening right now in the news as well. After the Myanmar earthquakes, lots of countries have started assessing what would happen if they face earthquakes. Like Japan released news about the fact that more than 2 lakh people could die if they are not prepared right now, and so many other countries are assessing. And why? Because one country already suffered. The death toll has crossed 2,000, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I know it's up there. Yes. Now on with the performers. I got like 5 minutes. I need to wrap this up early. I told Suniti earlier because my family has been away for the last 18 days and they are landing in the airport today and I need to go pick them up. I'm looking forward to seeing them. And I had already scheduled this Monday mind shift. I'd already scheduled it at normal time. I'm like, what am I gonna do? But kind of
No,
to
no family.
this is another key factor of high performers. I love this quote by Jim Rohn. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So, you have to ask yourself, are you around people that are lifting you up, either lifting you up or drawing you up, attracting, pulling you up? Or is your circle holding you? Are you the crab in the bucket? Have you heard the bucket of crabs story?
Falling
Right?
down.
We all know this, right? One crab in the bucket, he'll climb out, no problem. Put two, he'll get halfway up and his buddy will pull him down. How many times in our life have we been in the wrong crowd and we're trying to climb up to our next level and somebody in their words or their actions pulls us down? So we need to, high performers surround themselves with people that are going to lift, push, or pull
They have
to
to motivate you,
up.
basically. Like,
Right? They either
if
push
they're
us
not
up,
giving you
they
any
lift.
motivation, then what are you doing in your life?
Right. Yeah, you have to evaluate. But at the same time, here's a twist. It's okay to be bored and alone. High performers actually schedule unstructured time. They put 20-minute empty slot on their calendar every day to get bored, like to just sit there and do nothing. No phone, no music, nothing. Because it's actually in this boredom where our brain will start finding solutions that we can't normally find. Our thinking diverges into a new zone.
It's
Einstein
like
called
giving.
it violin breaks.
There's some music and a humming noise coming from your side actually. So I thought that there's some music going to play, and that's why I went
No,
quiet. But I guess we are not getting any music today like we did the last day.
no music. In the interest of time. But yes, so, you know, surround yourself with people who inspire, lift you, make you want to be better. Limit or avoid those that are going to, and I'm not just talking about, like, sometimes it's not intentional. Like, they're not literally trying to pull you down. They're like, "Oh, I need to go to the gym." "Oh, no, just hang out here and watch this Netflix with me." "No, no, no, I need to go to the gym. This is my gym time." And they're just like, they're not being mean, they're not trying to mess you up, but it does, right?
Yeah, it's unintentional, but effect remains.
Yeah, I have a person in my life, small doses, partially because I can be at my max joy and positivity and 3 minutes with this person. And I'm like, oh, like I worked at the trash dump. That's what I feel like. Like I need to
Oh my
shower
God.
and brush my teeth and energize, play some happy songs or something because they're in that, the whole world's out to get me victim, it's just, I call it the emotional vampire, right? They just suck it right out of you. All right.
I think we all have some people or the other like this in our lives, and it's about being selective about how much time you're spending with them.
Yeah. So in closing, I'm going to put a new QR code up, but closing thoughts, Suniti?
In closing thoughts, I'll just say one thing that I started out with actually, that do you want it? The dream you have, the ambition you have. Because if you want it, you have to pay the price for it. And if that means giving up on some habits, building some new habits, why not do it? If your heart wants it, why are you stopping your heart?
Right. What is it that you're willing to give? Because there is a price. Are you willing to pay the price? But it is about a balance. And that's why the QR code I put up there is some tactical steps you can take, like a 60-second emotional audit to kind of check in with your emotions and what is the emotion, because emotions are like warning lights. We talked about this before, I believe. It also talks about the failure quotas or the dynamic schedules, the pre-mortem, and aligning with our values, etc. Or the 70% rule. All of this is in there. So the link, scan the QR code. I will put the link as well on. It's a Canva shared link, so there's no sign up. Just download it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Suniti, for another wonderful discussion.
Thank you, and it was lovely to talk to you. And this
Always.
topic was amazing. I hope people take some fantastic takeaways from here and just run for their dreams.
Yes. So share your takeaways in the comments, whether you watched it live or you're watching the replay. And if you're on board with some of these, you're going to implement some of them. Let us know in the comments. What you're going to, and it's not about trying to implement everything. Pick one thing, one small habit you can start
Yeah,
immediately and build from it, right? It's not about like trying to revamp your whole schedule and say, oh, you know what, I've been waking up at 5 a.m. I'm going to start waking up at 8. No, go 5:30, let yourself sleep in a little more or something. Make small adjustments. Anyway, thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.